Welcome, everybody. Welcome to the Ganjier Virtual Open House. We have a fun and exciting afternoon, evening planned, depending on where you're at. So yeah, thanks for joining us. We have some Ganjier Council members, instructors, who are participating in today's open house, as well as some graduates of the program that will explain their perspective and experience with the program and how they've been applying it and using it since they've graduated and become certified Ganjiers. Beyond that, we are here to answer your questions this evening. And before we get started, we do have a presentation where we will discuss the nature of the Ganjier program, why we created the program, how it was created, who was involved, what the steps to become a certified Ganjier are, and everything that's included in the program as well. So hopefully we'll get all your questions answered this evening.
I'll say that we have this little Q&A box here in the Zoom. And so at any point today, you have questions, you have comments, you have anything you want to share with us, go ahead and throw it in there. We realize that the Q&A box is the only thing that was enabled for this call. So we'll have to use that as the kind of interface. And for example, Daniel has already said, "Hi, Derek, I love the tiger."
Hey, cool.
So thanks, Daniel. Yeah.
Beautiful. Yeah, and thanks, Max, for the questions. So how we are planning to do this is to go through our presentation, again, explain what the program is, what it's all about, allow the graduates to kind of share their stories, get some input from at the end. So try and save your questions because they may get answered throughout the presentation. Yeah, Max, anything else to add?
No, yeah, I was going to say, don't save your questions, just throw them in the chat. But as always, this is the yin and yang of Derek and I, so yeah, get used to that.
Yeah, and I think before we start the presentation, let's go around the room here and get a quick little hello from the council members who have attended today's session. I can see Amanda is here.
Hi, everyone. I'm Amanda. You may remember me from such films as Bullshit or Not, Cannabis Public Health in the Ganjier program. I am up here in beautiful Mendocino County, California. I teach about public health and harm reduction in the Ganjier program. I also teach the consumer interaction protocol, and I'm one of the examiners. So if you come up to the beautiful campus to do your exam, you will get to work with me. I've been part of this program for a few years now, and it's been fantastic and wonderful. So I look forward to hearing your questions and hearing from the graduates as well.
I'm just remembering, I think I got angry, Amanda, on my service exam. Isn't that right? Wasn't I?
Oh, you got a special character, Max. I conjured up a whole bunch for you, as I should have. So
He can handle it.
He can handle it.
Great. And I think I saw Nikka T was here. Nikka,
greetings. Greetings. I'm here. Thank you for having me. Welcome everyone to the program and to this discussion. I'm just blessed to be here. I was one of the founding council members, and these days I spend my time teaching. I'm a consultant on the road pretty much 24/7, and I'm happy to have pivoted to this place. I love teaching, so I hope to see y'all in the program so we can keep the education moving.
Beautiful. Whom else is here from the Ganjier Council?
Patrick, I see Patrick here.
Hey, everybody. I'm Patrick, Soil King. If you don't know me, you will pretty soon. That's guarantee. I, too, am one of the original council members and super excited about seeing where this program has come from, where it's already been, and where it's going. I'm super excited to be part of it. to, as well as an educator into the cannabis space, taking quality products to the next level. And that's what it's all about. So everybody, welcome.
Awesome.
Thanks for showing up, Patrick.
And of course, the OG, Kev, is here with us.
Hey, how you doing? Thanks for having me here. Welcome to the Ganjier, all on the meeting. It's been just a fantastic experience to be part of something so epic. And epic in the sense that you're really trying to drive honest education into the birth of a new industry. And it creates an honesty and an open dialogue and a camaraderie. And I'm just really blessed. I guess that's the best word, to be a part of it. And I don't know who's gotten more out of it, the students or us, the instructors. So thank you so much.
I'm glad you were able to navigate the technicalities involved in getting us signed onto the webinar this evening, Kev.
Thanks for holding my hand, Derek.
Cool. I believe Kimberly, Madam Cannoli, was joining us this evening too. You not see her on just yet?
Don't see her. No, I see some
I
lovely.
saw her in the audience.
Oh, she
Oh yeah,
should-
she's in her hand. Okay, let's see. Let's see if I can track her down. Sorry,
Yeah.
sorry. One-handed. All right, I'll find Kimberly and figure out how to bring her in.
Beautiful. So let's move forward with our presentation. Well, we got a lot of ground to cover today, and we want to make sure we get it all covered. So I will share my screen here and share the presentation we have planned. That way. Beautiful. Can everybody see that?
We can see it.
Great. So yeah, Ganjier program. What we'll cover today: what is Ganjier? Why was Ganjier created? How was the Ganjier certification developed? Who's on the Ganjier Council? What is included in the Certified Ganjier program? And ultimately, what is the path to becoming a certified Ganjier? So what is a Ganjier? Specifically, in the tradition of the wine sommelier, cigar aficionado, or master chocolatier, Ganjier is first of its kind, rigorous, multi-tiered cannabis sommelier certification, created and taught by the most respected names in the field, with the intent of producing an entirely new class of cannabis professional, the Ganjier. What does all that mean? It means that Ganjier is a service professional, first and foremost, someone who is trained to be a trusted and reliable guide for the cannabis consumer at any level. And to be a trusted and reliable guide for the cannabis consumer means that you also need to be exceptionally skilled and trained in the assessment of flowers and concentrates. If you're going to be recommending products, you need to have a very firm grasp on exactly what you're recommending, the quality of what you're recommending, and ultimately the value of what you're recommending to consumers. Why was Ganjier created? Ganjier was created for different reasons depending on whom you ask, to be quite clear. Max, would you like to share why you
I was chuckling a little. That's a great description, because depending on who you ask, we all had kind of a slightly different angle. And I'm happy to say today, it feels like all of those angles are being satisfied. I know that, when we were coming up with the idea of Ganjier, I was most excited about having Ganjiers there really on the side of engaging with consumers. I was so tired of going into dispensaries and going into these brands and shops and getting terrible recommendations, wrong recommendations, people making stuff up, falsifying stuff. And it was really about designing a training so that we could create a next level professional to provide expert level service. And so that was kind of my bent of Ganjier. I think, Derek, we can share yours, and Kev can probably share his, but that was kind of the impetus behind my desire to get this program off the ground.
Yeah, before I share mine, I'd love to hear, everyone else's and the council's motivations and inspiration. Amanda, you want to go next?
Sure. Well, I think Max said it really well, which is that cannabis should be a very client-centered activity because everybody's different. And even though we see common motivations across consumers, relaxation, stress relief, anxiety, pain, and sleep, everybody's coming at it from a different space. And so meeting people where they're at is really important. Listening to what the consumer's looking for is really important because cannabis leaves an imprint on you. And if you have a bad experience, it can be a long time before you figure out how to overcome that bad experience. And as folks that are recommending products, you're a bit of the gatekeeper to that experience. So elevating that beyond just this is what's on sale or this is what's the highest THC percentage is really important to helping people who come from all different places around cannabis to make sure that they develop a lifelong, healthy, and balanced relationship with the plant.
Beautiful. It looks like Soil King's on the phone. So Kev, why don't you share your motivations and inspiration?
The inspiration of it is that we're in the dawn of a new industry. And as I am looking at my life right now, I realize I spent, almost 85–90% of it in cannabis. And what I really wanted to see happen was people be able to come into the world without any kind of trepidation, any type of stigma, and get an education on a substance that's been completely hidden from any reality for over 100 years. So that what we really do is have an opportunity to create a beautiful industry around an incredible plant, and one that allows people to have an accurate language and a common understanding. And in that, it forms a really wonderful camaraderie. And so it's really more a culturally aspect for me. And I mean, I understand the business applications well, but really what I wanted to be able to do was give back to something that had done so much for me. And so to be part of it in this way it's just so genuine that I'm satisfied. I'm really satisfied with being part of something so wholesome.
How about you, Nick?
Sorry, I'm muting. For me, it was, I'm going to echo a lot of what you guys just said, but the idea of standardization, that's really the first and foremost reason why I thought Ganjier was going to be really important for the industry. And one of the reasons that I joined the team was the lack of standardization in the industry. And I hope that Ganjier could help standardize things like terminology, being a main one. So yeah, standardization. And of course, so much more has come from it.
Beautiful. Max, were you able to identify a way to bring Kimberly into the conversation?
I think so. Kimberly, are you right? Are you there to speak? Says you are. Oh, wait a minute. Nope. Now it says you're not. Ask to unmute. Kimberly? There you are. All right, we hear you. We hear you.
I didn't have the right link, obviously.
We hear you, though. You're there.
Okay, so my answer is education. With Frenchie, we've always been about education and passing on the traditions. It's so important that the next generation be able to rapidly move forward with better education than we had. And with the Ganjier, you have the opportunity to stand on the shoulder of some giants, some living giants. And I think that's just an amazing thing. And the archive that you've created with the videos that you've done of all these instructors is a great wealth to people. And I think such a economic thing in a way too, to be able to learn from 18 experts in their field in the way that you've set it up is really a great opportunity. So yeah, I think it's all about the education.
I have to mention, Kimberly, I feel especially honored and humbled to have had the opportunity to memorialize Frenchie's knowledge and legacy through the 4 lessons that he participated in through our program. I just
Comes up every week, actually, Kimberly. Comes up every week that we say that.
I think the same thing, you know, between the pandemic and Frenchie's untimely illness, I'm so grateful. He was in a great shape. He was having so much fun with you, Derek. And I think it's a real treasure to be able to offer this to the next generation of cannabis industry professionals. So thank you for that, both of you.
Definitely.
I got to say one thing, Frenchie really put his all into those lessons too. Like those lessons are, you know, it's a lot. It makes me need to do more.
And the assessment protocol, you know, I mean, Frenchie's input on the systematic assessment protocol was so significant, right? I mean, I would go so far as to say it was one of the foundational pillars of you know, building the framework of what we were assessing. So I know we'll get into that, but yeah, we have an overwhelming gratitude for Frenchie.
Thank you. Thank
Yeah.
you.
Yeah, in developing the assessment protocol, I mean, just to get ahead of ourselves, you know, I borrowed heavily off of the existing wine sommelier protocols, but also I began with the system that Frenchie had developed and you guys had up on your website. That was definitely one of the things I leaned on and as we built this. My motivations for building Ganjier are a bit idealistic, I feel, in so much as I was fortunate enough to, through Greenflower, come up to the Emerald Triangle and work with some of my heroes, you know, Kev and Frenchie and Mean Gene and Casey O'Neill and a bunch of other farmers, Wendy Kornberg, and get a firsthand appreciation for the place, for these farmers, for these multi-generational genetics that they were working with, the methodologies, but most importantly, the end product and just how great the smoke was. And I just wasn't seeing the appreciation at the retail level for this genuinely craft product. And in my opinion, it's because, you know, after 100 years of prohibition, as old as cannabis is, it's still new to many people, and how it's looked at can be novel in many ways. And it's a lot more than just about getting high. What was that aroma? What was that flavor? What was the experience in that process? And so through creating Ganjier, it was about creating an appreciation for those qualities in truly good herb, and trying to bring that awareness to the largest audience possible, in an effort to save these small craft farms. So that was my personal motivation through it. All right, let's move on. And jumped ahead. Yeah, and to that point, there's Wendy Kornberg on her small craft farm here in Southern Humboldt, conducting one of our in-person farm tours during the live training. How was the Ganjier certification developed? Drawing structure and inspiration from well-established wine, beer, chocolate, and cigar certification programs, Ganjier was developed over multiple years with volunteer participation from the esteemed Ganjier Council. Ultimately, it was 18 experts who collectively hold over 250 years of combined cannabis experience, contributed, believe it or not, to over 8,000 hours of time to the development of this program. It was a multi-year process in building this before we launched it at the end of 2019.
And one other thing just to note about that, I think the reason why all of us put so much energy and focus into this was because very early on, we agreed on a vision for Ganjier, that Ganjier would still be there certifying and training people on the love and the appreciation of cannabis in 100 years. And so this is something that will outlive all of us, that was designed to be something that would sustain the test of time and that would continue to uphold the values and the vision that we've established to support and develop the cannabis industry as we know it. And so I take great pride and respect in the amount of time we put into this, knowing that it's a small fraction of what the vision of Ganjier will be over all of our lifetimes and for many generations to come.
Thanks, Max. Yeah, Ganjier is more than a piece of paper and pen at the end of the journey. So who's on the Ganjier Council currently? And these are the founding members of the council, was Swami Chaitanya, Mel Frank, Aaron Varney, Frenchie Cannoli, Nikki Lestretto, Alec Dixon, Patrick the Soil King, Omar Figueroa, Kevin Jodrey, Nick Tannum, aka Nikka T, Dr. Jeffrey Raber, Kimberly Hooks, Janine Coleman, Justin Calvino, Wendy Kornberg, Josh Werzer, also from SC Labs, along with Alec Dixon, and Dr. Amanda Reiman. So what is included in the Certified Ganjier program? What's it all about? Effectively, we have an online component, which delivers 31 lessons over 11 online courses featuring all 18 members of the Ganjier Council. So the 11 courses include the history of cannabis and cannabis consumption, botany, science, assessment, of course. It includes cultivation, genetics, processing, service, the business of successful cannabis sales. And we even have an extracurricular course on the online portion. It's roughly 30 hours of online content, which includes the video lessons themselves. It includes written lessons. It includes a knowledge check after each of the 10 courses. And yeah, all combined, it's about 30 hours worth online. Also included is the Ganjier Systematic Assessment Protocol we touched on a few minutes ago, known as the SAP, to assess the true quality cannabis flower and concentrates. It's the SAP app, as we call it. You know, it's a tool that comes on your phone and allows you to go through the aroma, the appearance, the flavor, and ultimately the experience of the flower or concentrate sample that's being assessed. The Ganjier Customer Interaction Protocol, known as the SIP, to provide the highest quality service to cannabis consumers. Also included is private access to the Ganjier community, which includes the Facebook group, a Discord group, weekly online study sessions and events, and as well as a weekly SAP study session. What else is included? The 2-day expert-led in-person hands-on live training sessions to further develop and refine your assessment and service skills. So the idea behind the program was there would be 3 steps to become a certified Ganjier. There was the online portion, the in-person component, and then ultimately the exams. The idea being that we could confidently deliver the knowledge needed to become a certified Ganjier online. But when it comes to the skill sets required in both service and the assessment of flower and concentrates, those skill sets can't really be practiced or delivered greatly through the screen and are best performed and practiced in person. And so that's why we have 2 days where we go through the assessment and service component. And also we have the farm tour in there as well. Also included is the Ganjier Toolkit, which includes the Ganjier Jeweler's Loop and Palette Training Kit, developed by the workshop. We have, sorry, I keep scrolling, the 3-part written exam, 3-part exams, which is the written exam, the service exam, and the assessment exam. The written exam is a 100-question multiple choice exam that was specifically curated from the questions included in those 10 knowledge checks that I mentioned in the online portion of the program. The service exam is a role play exam where the aspiring Ganjier will play the role of a Ganjier, and one of our exam administrators will play the role of a customer. And so you need to go through that customer interaction protocol, identify the goals and desires and budget of the consumer in front of you, and then accurately and reliably guide them in order to pass the service exam. The final of the 3 exams is the assessment exam, where you will be blindly assigned a flower sample, and you will go through the entire systematic assessment protocol, all 4 categories, each of the criteria in those categories, and you will be tasked with accurately assessing that sample in order to pass that exam. And you will need to pass all 3 of those exams on exam day in order to become a certified Ganjier. To be clear, this is not pay to play. This is not you go through the motions and you get a certification and pin at the end. This is a certification that must be earned. The knowledge and skill set must be evidenced before that certified status is awarded. And once you pass the exams, you do in fact receive your certified Ganjier certificate, a digital badge as well that can be shared online, LinkedIn and such, and as well as your listing on the Ganjier website as a certified Ganjier. All right, here we have some images of the Ganjier Jeweler's Loop in action. There's a picture of it over in that upper right corner. See the Ganjier logo on there. You could see Patrick the Soil King checking things out. You could see now certified Ganjier Marquita using the Ganjier Jeweler's Loop through the instruction. And here's one of our students out in the field on the farm tour using the Jeweler's Loop to get a closer look at those trichomes on those live plants. Again, students putting that loop to use in the classroom where you will be taught how to use the Jeweler's Loop if you've never used one before.
Yeah, and just so I can say it, I think that one of the most, if not the most special part of the program is coming out there to Humboldt and spending a few days in the room. All of us that, well, quite frankly, everybody that joins Ganjier as a cannabis lover, I think it's one of the, most common threads there. But the process of getting in the room with these experts and consuming cannabis together and assessing every individual quality of that cannabis and learning all the nuances of what makes that quality and what makes it fall out of quality and the tastes and refining your palate. It's the experience of a lifetime. And I think that the most common response you hear from people in Ganjier is that coming to do that weekend was one of the highlights of sometimes people's lives, especially because it's, such a safe place and a beautiful place to consume. So we do kind of show a lot of these images and photos because it's part of the magic is coming there and being able to be in person and spend those few days just really getting, super nerdy in cannabis assessment and learning everything you need to know about the assessment of flower and concentrates.
We geek out and go exceptionally deep down the rabbit hole when it comes to assessing flower and concentrates. And beyond the room itself, our 243-acre campus is an amazing place to spend some time without the restrictions or distractions of the outside world, a place where you can feel safe amongst your colleagues as you learn the craft. Here's the Ganjier palette training kit. As you can see, it includes a booklet. It includes 9 terpene isolates and 1 terpene blend. It includes playing cards, informational cards on each of the terpenes contained in the kit, which includes, boiling point, places where those terpenes naturally occur in nature. Here's a little video on our SAP app.
And I just, while we're watching this little video, I've been thinking a lot about what makes Ganjier special and unique these days. And one of the things that I would probably go so far as to say is the most significant contribution to the industry is this systematic assessment protocol, criteria, process, and training. And what I mean by that is, when we started Ganjier, we didn't necessarily plan to create a grading system for cannabis. But the moment we got into the process, we realized, oh, this is something that has to be done, and that it's something that has to be done from scratch. And so, over multiple weeks and months, and years, we created this criteria that goes systematically through every single element of assessing appearance, aroma, flavor, and experience, and then built an app that allows you to do it hands-on and in real time, and then store all those in a journal. And so when you sign up for Ganjier, not only are you learning the methodology of how to assess flower and concentrates and how to understand what quality is, and not only are you getting trained on that, but you're also getting a piece of technology that allows you to do that, and see everybody else's assessments and evaluations as well. And this has become a real signature part of Ganjier, to get access to the tools and the training and the ability to provide these assessments out in the world. So I think this is a really special, unique signature element of Ganjier that you just can't get anywhere else. And yet it's become kind of the cornerstone of what makes Ganjier so special as well.
Thanks, Max. Farm tour. You can see some students. Actually, it's hands-on, as you can see. It's not just, going out there and looking and hearing some stories from the farmer. This is a hands-on experience. Speaking of which, Nick, you want to touch a little bit on the trichome tutorial we oftentimes do if we've got ripe enough plants out there in the field?
Yeah, I love doing the trichome tutorial. It's all about tactile experience, and in looking for strains that will potentially wash well, we look for a specific tactile experience, and we go over that in the field. And oftentimes we find multiple, tactile experiences to dictate what that experience will best represent as an end product.
Talking about it's one thing, putting your fingers on it. That's what it's all about, Nick. When you're looking for a washer, you don't know until I got to touch it.
People send me photos all day, every day, and I cannot tell you if it's a washer or not. It might look triked out, and I will not be able to tell you from a photo.
Beautiful. Thanks, man. Here's a nice shot of the Ganjier campus. Yes, we're exceptionally proud of the campus. You will get to hang out with people like Kevin Jodrey, Wendy Kornberg, Swami, myself, Nikka T at the live trainings. And you never know who else may be one of your classmates. Here we've got Ricky Williams, who showed up last year. Another shot of the campus. It's another one of those things, you got to be here and experience it to truly understand the magic of the area of Southern Humboldt, of the Emerald Triangle. We could talk about it, and we'll get some insight from some of the students and graduates who've been here and share their thoughts too in a moment. But there's nothing like this place.
And as a side note, yeah, if you get early enough registered, you can, maybe we're just going to say that, Derek, you can stay on site. You can actually just stay right on the campus, and that makes for an even cooler experience.
We have limited lodging on site. We have 6 personal little cabins on site for students looking for a more immersive experience while they're out here in Southern Humboldt. Here we are on the patio of the learning space. Got that beautiful view there. And here we are. This looks like exam day. We talked about those 3 exams. You can see some students, some very serious expressions on their faces as they go through both the written and assessment portions of the exam here. And if you are able to successfully pass all 3 of the exams, it will be a celebratory moment. You will get your certification and your pin and become a certified Ganjier. And just before we close up this presentation portion of today's open house, I just want to remind everybody, we are 2 weeks away from closing applications, and they will close on February 28th, midnight, February 28th. Applications are closed. We won't be accepting any more applications for the 2023 class. Okay, it won't open up again until later this year for the 2024 class. So if you want to get in this year, you do want to apply soon. And when you're ready to apply, just go to ganjier.com. Simple as that. You can get some more info about the program and fill out the application there. And that concludes our presentation.
While you're taking that off the screen, Derek,
yeah.
Well, oh, there you go. We'll answer just a few questions. So John asked to explain a little bit more about the KIP, the customer interaction protocol. So you want to take it?
Perhaps let's let Dr. Amanda Reiman, who really contributed significantly to the development of that, explain more.
Sure. So the customer interaction protocol, it's nothing that's crazy. It's very common sense, but it's a lot of things that we overlook when we're having interactions with customers at a dispensary. So we're really teaching you about active listening, what to ask customers to figure out what type of experience you're looking to have, what types of products they may or may not be interested in based on who they are and what they're looking to achieve, and then how to guide them through the process of selecting a product, of learning about the products in a way that makes them feel comfortable. I think we've all had the experience of going to a dispensary and the bud tender basically just plows right through. It's more about feeding their own ego and how much they know about cannabis rather than listening to the consumer. And the reality is that even though a lot of people come into the dispensary who have used cannabis before, there's a lot of folks that aren't coming in at all because they're very intimidated by the process of even talking to someone about cannabis. So we want to make sure that as a Ganjier, you're prepared to talk to the person who knows everything just as much as you're prepared to talk to the person who knows absolutely nothing. So the interaction protocol teaches you how to do that. And, I'll just say I'm a social worker, and we based it on how social workers interact with clients, which is very client-centered, starting where the client is and making sure that you make them feel comfortable.
Awesome.
And the goal ultimately, as you accurately and reliably guide the consumer in their choices, the goal and the measure of success is how satisfied that person is with their selection. Okay. Again, we have this course on the successful business of cannabis sales. And to be clear, that course is not about maximizing profits. The course is about identifying the demographic you're serving and to have the right products on the shelves, and to ultimately make sure, that you measure success based on the satisfaction of the people you're serving. Any other questions, Max, we want to address now?
Let's see. I mean, some people are asking some super specific questions, which maybe we'll get to at the end.
Okay, so yeah, let's continue on then. And we have some certified Ganjiers we've invited to today's open house to share their experience with the program, their thoughts on the program, and ultimately how they've applied what they've learned in the program since earning their certification. I believe we have Elizabeth Sage here joining us this evening.
Good afternoon.
Hey, Elizabeth, thanks for coming.
Thank you for having me.
So yeah, tell us a little bit more about your experience with the program, and I think we'll end with kind of your role now as
Sure.
you continued on.
So I have been a lifelong cannabis user, but have been in more traditional industries. So for me, when I went out there, I was in one of the first classes last year, and I took my certification in the first group that did it. And it was a very different experience because I didn't have the same background in cannabis that a lot of people did, but I have a very different set of skills that not everybody in cannabis has. So I had so many questions. And when I started taking the online course, it was great, but I just had so many more questions. And when I went out there, I learned so much and it was great, but I had so many more questions. And so over time, actually, even in the first couple of months, just meeting people, and I realized other people had a lot of the same questions that I did, and they just wanted to talk about this. And Max talked earlier about being in that room and nerding out and talking to people about cannabis. And it's so great because for the first time, you get to have these open conversations, and not just with one person, but with 12 people from 12 different areas of the industry. And you leave that room every day, and it's so much to process because you just learned so much, and then you just learned how much more there is to learn. So after going through the program and wanting to ask all these questions, finding people who wanted to know the answers to the same questions, we started a group of people that meet every Monday. And we talk about, it started talking in through the different sections, and then it just led to industry people and council members and other people of the community sharing their knowledge. So every Monday we get together for an hour. We have a subject that we go through. It has spanned every facet of the industry, stuff that's covered in the program, stuff that's not. That sort of gave birth to the need of, we all wanted to be able to talk about specific cannabis. And, you know, the assessment protocol that you mentioned earlier is such a cornerstone of the program. And that is such an important thing that people have not just a one-time knowledge of, but a continuous working knowledge as the industry evolves. It's important, I think, that certified Ganjiers stay calibrated, they stay in tune with how the industry is moving. So on Tuesday nights, we have a group of people that get together. We do either a deep dive into one part of the assessment protocol, or we'll do a full SAP with sometimes council members, sometimes members of the community. And then every Thursday, we calibrate different cultivars rather quickly, but just to make sure that we're staying in calibration with one another across the country.
So what started as a weekly session has now evolved into 3 sessions on most weeks.
Yep, 3 sessions every week.
That's amazing, Elizabeth. Again,
Yeah.
so
And
great
it's such a cool community of people. And that's the thing, is it's, you know, like I can do all the logistical work, but to have the people contribute the way that they do and to genuinely put their all into it is like, it's such a blessing for me. Like, I'm so lucky that I get to ask all these people every question that I want and get like amazing answers.
She spent her Valentine's Day too. She's someone to be reckoned with. I am so grateful that she is in the program and I know her. And I can't, my hat's off to everything. Her and I, you know, we talk multiple times during the week on other projects as well. And I can't say enough about the community brought together. The outside community of this program is so solid. It's just, for me, it's greatness to be part of.
Thank you.
Thanks, Patrick. Great. Alex, are you here to share your thoughts and experience with the program and how you've been applying what you've learned?
I totally am. Is there anywhere in particular you'd like me to start or end?
No, just what was your experience with the program coming here? What were your expectations? Were your expectations met? I happen to know, while Elizabeth mentioned her cannabis knowledge and skill set was perhaps, lacking entering the program, I happen to know that your cannabis knowledge and skill set was particularly strong coming into this program.
Sure. Yeah. So I stumbled upon Ganjier rather randomly on Instagram, and I had been nerding out about cannabis and such things in my house for the last decade, really kind of just by myself in my own weird way through research. And when I came across that concept, I was like, that sounds like the most fun, idealistic, like wonderful event. I'm not great with like large groups of people or events, so something intimate like that seemed perfect. And went out there and kind of just fell in love with the people and realized that what was set up with the entire thing, and that was super early on at the very beginning stages, I think, with Elizabeth. What was set up by the council came out of such depth and passion, and it had attracted so many passionate, non-cynical people. And it was such a beautiful thing to see in an industry that can have a little bit of cynicism to it sometimes, and a little bit of competition to it sometimes, and a lot of ego to it sometimes. And it was just so warm to see all of that dropped and it just be for the love of the plant and moving something forward that was bigger than all of us. And it was something that I wanted to be a part of and didn't really know how. And I was at another conference up in Maine and heard Kevin speak and a couple other people. And the thing that they were really saying was like, there's a weird industry right now, and you need to figure out, how do you add value? What do you do to add value to a room or to a space? And I was like, well, I know how to cook and I know how to smoke weed, and that's about it. And so I very strangely approached Derek. It was like, hey, I'm in Northern California. Can I cook for you? And he was like, no, but you can come cook for Ganjier next week. And I was like, cool, I'll stay in California and come cook next week, which was very generous and trusting of him. And it kind of led into a series of events where now we are hosting some events on campus and hoping to feed all of you that might come here. Myself and my partner actually live on campus, and we'll be doing the cooking for anyone who comes for live training. We also are here the rest of the time. And so for people that have already come to the campus to do a live training, if they want to come back and do a work trade situation, we're here to kind of provide some extraneous education as well as some fun and a little bit of intensive forestry and gardening work.
What a great story.
You touched, Alex, you touched upon the intimate nature of that in-person training. And that's something I just want to elaborate on just briefly. For me, it was very important that these sessions were intimate sessions where the students coming in, traveling from all over the planet, had a legitimate opportunity to spend real face time with each of these experts in the program. And so we limit our in-person training sessions to no more than 20 students per session. And we have a minimum of 4 Ganjier instructors at each live event. Typically it's 5 over the 2 days, but it's 4 on each day, but 1 flip-flops. So it's not a group of 50 students or more all facing a whiteboard with a single instructor. This is us coming together as a group, and there is plenty of time for the interaction with these great instructors from the council. And we also have one more certified Ganjier that we'd like to hear from, and that's Lamont. Woo, woo. You hear Lamont?
Hey
Unmute.
everyone.
There you
Hey,
go.
how you doing? Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Yeah, how you doing? I'm Lamont Jackson. Obviously, as Derek said, I'm certified Ganjier. I'm based out of New York City, but I'm in Connecticut most of the time. The For me, it's I come from a weird place because I didn't really start indulging in cannabis till I was like 38. And I just fell in love with it from that point. And I did my usual studying to try to understand it because I'm doing a career change from IT into cannabis overall, and came across Green Flower. Max is amazing company that the Ganjier program is under. And when the Ganjier program was created, it was a few years after I had engaged in Green Flowers learning that I said, I'm totally ready for this. There's no question. I've always felt the Ganjier program, and I tell a lot of people that the program is not a 101. It is a very serious, intensive program. There's a lot of people that, figure what I do is really cool, and you know, it is. So overall, I always tell them though, if they're going to engage into this, that this is something they need to be really, really, really ready for. And considering I'm someone that got into the cannabis game kind of late, I really absorbed a lot of what was going on. So when I think I remember Kevin had posted something on Instagram about the Ganjier program, the inception of it, and I was like, I got to sign up for this. And then cut to, sign up for the program. And by the way, I love that you guys had the whole thing. You had to kind of really earn your spot. It wasn't just plunk down X amount of dollars and that's it. I had to write basically a thesis for them to understand exactly why I deserve to be in this program. Took the training online, which was excellent. When I saw Frenchie's face, I knew from that point, I already knew in terms of the lineup, it was going to be a serious intensive training program. But when Frenchie showed up and began to talk about the history of cannabis, I said, "Oh yeah, they're not bullshitting. Like this is where we're at right now. We're gonna start from the very beginning." And it was really the coolest thing and the coolest place to begin. And from that point, it was great. The 2-day live training was just, I mean, it was life changing for me because I had a different idea about how I was going to move into the sector. I figured it was going to be cultivation, but when I arrived at the 2-day live training and just saw the groups of people from many different walks of life, something just clicked in my head that said, you know what? I think I could do more than that. Nothing against cultivators, because cultivators are awesome. I feel like they're the basis of a ganja, and I respect cultivators a lot, and I understand it myself. It's just that there's so many places to go, and for me, as of now, I'm really trying to chart my own course in terms of doing these different things, such as like giving events that are edutainment, that train, that teach as well as entertain.
Tell us
And
about those events you've been doing, Lamont.
oh, so there was an event at in Connecticut in North Branford. It was basically a breakdown of how regular folk can understand cannabis somewhat the way we do. And throughout that program, it was basically guiding them through the process of the SAP, although they don't really see the SAP because it's up here, people. It's here. So I know how to, explain and break it down, by aroma, flavor, appearance and experience. And it was really a cool event. I mean, a lot of people and these were long time cannabis users, had repeatedly had said to me they just never thought to look at it this way. For a lot of them, it was a lot of smoke, get high, repeat. But when you break down terpenes to the different types of the flavor inside of cannabis and what to look for, especially under magnifying glasses, which by the way, Derek had recommended this little piece for me, which I use to this day, as well as my jeweler's loop. It really opened up a lot in terms of them. And it's just, I just love it. I just love that I have this knowledge to be able to dispense it the way I need to. But there's so many different unique places to go. So for me, I'm still in kind of an exploration stage, but being a Ganjier is just something I will hold with me like forever. Like it really is the coolest job, and I have so much fun doing this. And if anyone has doubts, listen, like I said, if you have a better than average knowledge of cannabis, I would highly recommend you get in this program, but definitely look at it from a point of view of understanding that the knowledge you get from this program is something you will be able to use in many different aspects of just the space itself. So I don't want to
Beautiful.
yammer on too long. I didn't hit this for the sole reason I didn't want to talk too much, but
Beautiful. Thank you,
I just want
Lamont.
to say thank you everyone, and that's what it is for me.
Hey, Derek, I want to ask a question to the students that Jocelyn asked because it is a good one. And I've actually been curious kind of in this day and age how people would answer this. So Jocelyn asked, how much time should I devote to this? You know, if I was going to budget out my time for this and I was going to plan accordingly, you know, how much time do you spend in the program and in the training? I mean, I know that we answered the question, it's, 30 hours online and there's the in-person thing. I thank you for that, Amanda. But when you think about the time commitment that it's taken all of you to, study, to show up in the groups, how do you answer that? So I would love to hear from the students directly, like what's your answer to that?
For me, I'll say it's a question of basically living it. I mean, I don't have an exact number, like X amount of hours by X amount of minutes by X amount of seconds. I really don't. It's really just living it. And when you know what you know, you can use this anywhere. So when you're in spaces where there is cannabis, someone's always going to ask a question, and many people know who I am anyway. Not like I'm some celebrity or whatever, but they know what I do. So there's always questions, and honestly, in me having people understand it, I'm learning a lot as well in terms of how their perception of it is, and maybe I could explain it a different way if need be. But yeah, I would say in terms of once you get into the program, it's just not a touch and go thing. It's just way too intensive to take lightly, especially when you consider what you have to endure on the final exam, which is tough. You're gonna have to live, eat, and breathe it. And at least for me, that's what it was. It worked, exactly the way I guess I needed it to, and I was very grateful. So
I'd love to hear how Elizabeth would answer this question as well, considering how much time she spends with the students in these weekly sessions.
Absolutely. I think it is really dependent on each person and what their knowledge is. One thing I would stress is if you are able to financially afford to make both trips out to campus, to go out and do your training and take time and take that back and take a couple months to sit with it, to practice your SAPs over and over and over, to join the groups and do all that. And then maybe 2-3 months after that, go back out and take your test. To me, I think that's a bigger portion of the equation. Is to give yourself the time once you've had that in-person experience, because everybody's touched on how magical and life-changing it really is. And I think that's different for everyone, but it is true for everyone. And so take that back, take the time you need with it, and then schedule it when you feel that you're ready for it. And you'll know.
Yeah, I don't know about the rest of you, but I felt like I needed to do probably 40-50 SAPs before I even took the exam, just to like make sure that I knew what I was doing. I knew how to assess these things properly. And so I think the most time consuming part is just getting to a place of confidence with the assessment, so that when you go to do the exams, you really feel confident in your ability to assess each of the categories.
Looks like Kev's had his hand up here for a little bit.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, no apologies. Well, looks like a ghost. What I would like to interject on this is that in terms of when are you ready, when you go through the program and you're in person with us, we're able to help you identify your strong areas and your weak areas. And typically you're not the same across all criteria. So there's places where you're up to par now. And then there's places where we believe you're like really radically underpowered. And so we help you understand that, hey, this is where we see you having some issue. And then what it does, it allows you now as a student to access the groups that Liz cultivates. And then also us, the instructors, where you can reach out to us for perspective and background, so that it allows you to get up to speed in the areas you're weaker in. And so there's no standard answer for what the time frame for the student. It's 60 hours of, online, in person, and then tests. But for some, it might take them, another 400 hours to really develop their palate. It might take 200 hours to develop their nose. It might take them 150 hours to develop the ability to understand what a visual assessment is. And so that's something that's really nuanced. And because the program is so, I want to say, giving, it allows you not to feel like you're lost in your weak area. And so far, the graduation rate of the people who've gone through the program and then took their time and then participated with us has been outstanding. And I believe that every one of the students that went through that process and completed it is absolutely qualified to grade cannabis in any facility in the United States. And so it's really, when do you feel strong? You're strong.
And to Lamont's point as well, earlier, to be clear, this program is not a beginner level course. If you just began consuming cannabis 6 months ago, you are welcome to participate and join the program. However, you need to temper your expectations in earning that certification and how much time it could take to earn that certification, as opposed to somebody who has a lifetime of experience coming into the program. That learning curve could be much shorter. Okay.
And I will say, I do think that's probably something that's surprisingly unique about the program. I would imagine that, 3/4 or 2/3 of the people that are coming to the program are very experienced consumers. They're people that have been consuming for a long time and feel like they've got some good knowledge. And this is kind of the advanced next step. We do know we have plenty of people who have come in that have been, newer to cannabis and less experienced, but it's a bit like a fire hose. It's a bit like a fire hose if you're brand new to the thing. So you just got to be prepared for that, prepared to really jump on that kind of advanced train.
We have one of the students use those exact words. It's like a fire hose. Patrick, what you got?
Take me off mute. I think it's very important what you just said, Derek, but I also think we're missing something. So we don't want to scare anybody away. And the beauty of this program, if you don't have a lot of time with consumption and a relationship with cannabis yet, don't let that stop you. Like, you are going to be in an arsenal of people that have the knowledge that you are going to learn from. The beauty of this program, if you don't have, if you don't have if you're not a cannabis connoisseur and you don't have that, and you're feeling that isn't yourself, you're not going to be in a better place than amongst your peers teaching one another. So for me, the learning, the consumption, learning how, everything that we teach in this course is going to accelerate you so quickly. So don't let any fear come in and say, maybe this program isn't for me because I haven't been smoking my whole life, or I've only started smoking 6 months ago. But if you have the urge to learn and understand, there's not a better opportunity for you amongst people that are going to educate you together, right? That's the beauty of it.
Awesome, Patrick.
You're on mute, Derek.
Thank you, Amanda. I see we have some other hands raised, but before we move into the Q&A portion, I was hoping just to hear a little bit more from the council on their thoughts and experience with the program, and then we can move into some Q&A.
Or maybe not just their thoughts, because they're just not generic thoughts. We don't want to set Kevin loose on generic thoughts here.
Nice.
But
Shots fired, Kevin. Shots fired.
Listen, nobody will love listening to Kev talk more than us, but we'll be here till midnight. So why don't you just do some final thoughts to the people that have been listening? You've got lots of people that have been kind of waiting here. So I just, maybe your final thoughts to the people that are maybe on the fence or considering joining the program. Okay, Kev, over to you though, bud.
Well, that's hysterical. No. But I get excited though, because what the final thoughts about the program has been just an absolutely incredible education on the diversity of the individuals involved in cannabis globally. And so it was this diversity of the population in total that blew my mind, because it made me understand that through the program, not only would we be able to affect the consumer, but we would create this network of global cannabis aficionados that were really genuinely, honest about what they were trying to do, which was bring some value to the industry, try to increase the quality of the world around them in cannabis. And it created one of the most powerful networks that I've seen in terms of support. And it's just such a unique thing to be part of and see, because the students, when they go through the process, they form a bond. When they graduate, they stick together. And it's been a phenomenal education in the quality of human beings involved in cannabis. It just blew my mind, really. I knew we were good people, but I didn't know, that good and that diverse.
Thanks, Kev. Nick, you want to share some thoughts? Final thoughts?
Yeah, final thoughts. I actually got to go pull my freeze dryer. I should have 6 minutes ago, but final thoughts are really the connections that have been made through this program are valuable. And I didn't anticipate what that would bring, but I've personally seen, Ganjier students get amazing positions in the industry, not only with myself, but with other council members. And yeah, just the community that it's created is amazing. And it's all for the passion of the plant. I'm here for it. I'm blessed to be here each and every day. So I'm grateful to be part of the program. And I think everyone should sign up. Pull up, come hang out and smoke weed with us.
Go pull those trays out of the freezer.
Much love, y'all.
Amanda.
So I'll just say that, cannabis was a therapeutic tool for thousands and thousands of years across the globe. And it has been a dangerous, illegal narcotic for less than a century. So we are living in a very, very unique time where cannabis is finding its way back into our health and wellness system from our criminal justice system. And you all, as being part of this program, are ambassadors. You're ambassadors for the plant and for this huge change that's happening in society around acceptance of this plant. So, that opportunity to get into something like this at a time like this is something that you will never have again, that nobody that comes after you will have this specific opportunity to do it right now. And so, if you're just thinking about it, take the plunge. Worst thing that happens is you learn a ton about an amazing plant and get to experience beautiful Humboldt County and where the cannabis comes from. And that in and of itself is something that you will tell your kids and your grandkids and hopefully your great grandkids. So I think just recognizing where we are in history and the opportunity that you have to be a part of it is something that you can't buy. It's something that only comes along once in a lifetime. So that's what I'll say.
Super insightful. Thank you, Amanda. Kimberly.
I have unmuted myself. So I agree with everything that Amanda just said. I think for me, as somebody who lived through the height of prohibition in both the United States and France, where, we used to have the police on the street that would frisk you just because you looked young and suspicious. I really am so grateful to be part of something like this, because as Frenchie used to say all the time, this is a therapeutic plant that creates well-beingness for a lot of people. And I think now more than ever, especially after the pandemic, people are looking for a way to refine their balance. And this is a unique plant that for humans is specifically engineered. We have this kind of shared primordial history. So for anybody who's interested in jumpstarting their career, I can't think of another program that has such a depth of knowledge and at the same time allows you to network within the industry so deeply, so rapidly. So I would say go for it, but I'm biased. And I do hope you join us.
Thank you, Kimberly. I can't imagine you ever being suspicious looking. I imagine Frenchie was the suspicious looking one that they came and frisked you guys over.
Yeah, but when you travel with a suspicious looking one, they assume that it's you that's holding all the stuff. So
Cool. Thanks. Soil King, final thoughts. Patrick, the Soil King, you're up. Unmute.
Unmute me. Final thoughts. Like, I mean, I'm looking over here at Lamont, and I remember Lamont coming through, and we've heard a lot of talk about relationships throughout this process. And it's not a program. Excuse me. It's not a program that is Amsterdam. I'm just throwing it out there, where you go into a classroom setting and you have somebody on a whiteboard that's teaching you this is how you grow cannabis. That's never really applied that in their life. Like this is a unique situation that this is an opportunity you'll never get again. Like there isn't programs that are created with your council like this. When we sat back and Madam Cannoli, Frenchie, and all of us were in writing this curriculum together. Derek and Max had to bring us in a room, in a Airbnb, a mansion together, because our lives are so busy and we were all hard-headed and we all had our own ways. And the only time we all seen each other was like at events, or like even Amanda and I was compliancy or going to the Capitol or something, right? That's how we built our relationship too. And so, but we never had the opportunity to sit in a place and break bread for 3 days, talk shit and talk cannabis. And so the experience going behind the scenes with what we created in a curriculum is really unbelievable, unstoppable. And what we created then was a dream to be here right now. And here we are now. So going back to Lamont, meeting Lamont is one of the original students that came through, right? So now what are we season now? Derek, are we like 2, 3, 4, or 4? What is this? Three now. So if you're coming in now, you're class 3. Okay, that's huge. When there's class 500, you're going to be the class of 3, and that class of 3 is going to set an example across the world, and is going to be really a reckoning force to be identified with across cannabis in all aspects down the chain of cannabis. So really, like Amanda was saying, it's important, take the chance. It's not really a chance, man. In life, you get opportunities. Right? The life is a risky thing, and you either open the door and run through it, or the door doesn't open. And this is an opportunity for you to really shine, and for really to do something good in the world. What you're going to learn here, and what you're going to teach us as we're teaching you, is doing something good for the world. And I'd say jump in, be part of it, and let's rock and roll together as a family. I say it all around. We're a huge family. Nick hit on it, right? The people I have met have put more in this program with even our students, our graduates are now certified Ganjiers. I was just on 2 phone calls today, right? Asking for help in creating content and doing different things. The relationships I've built worldwide, like we are a solid family. Hands down, we're a solid family. And, take that plunge. Like, I want to meet you. I want to shake your hand. I want you to call me up. Everybody here has my number. Lamont call, Alex, all these, Elizabeth and I all of us are, it's like, yes, I got a call. Bam. I'm sorry. I got to go because one of my Ganjiers are calling, right? So I don't care who else is on the phone. I got to drop that phone call because the most invaluable person in the room is now picking up the phone and calling me, and I'm going to answer that.
Thank you, Patrick. That's beautiful.
That's
man.
my final words. Bam, let's go.
Thank you, sir.
Lamont doesn't call me. I'm jealous.
Beautiful. So as promised, let's move into some Q&A here. Max, are you still here? Because I'm counting on you to read out the questions.
I'm still here. I think there's some very individual questions in terms of people's individual situations. And so if in that particular case, I would just suggest you guys write into us, whether it's payment plan issues or special situations or questions you have that are relating to your situation, I would just go ahead and write into us. We've got, people that'll support you in that process of answering it.
Specifically, that is info@ganjier.com.
That said, I'm not seeing any new questions that I don't think we've answered. And if that's not the case, you can go ahead and type a question in there in the Q&A and we can answer it now. But I think we've mostly answered people's questions that relate to the group. And then there's some individual questions where, people can follow up directly.
Kev's got some final words to add.
Yeah,
Okay.
I think that was his hand from before.
No, that's a new hand.
Oh, it's a new
and I
hand.
got both hands up. What I want to say too is that Humboldt's such an awesome place to come visit. So what we let people know is that when you're making your plans and you're coming in, you feel free to reach out to us that live here, and we can help kind of lay you out some ideas of what to do around the course itself, so that you really do get to experience the place. Because it's just absolutely stunning.
Excellent. Well, thank you everybody for joining us. If you're interested in the program, thank you for joining us. The graduates of the program that joined us today, thank you, Alex, Elizabeth, and Lamont. And thank you to the council member instructors who joined us today as well. I hope we got your questions answered. Hope you learned more about the program. And I hope you sign up sometime before the next 2 weeks are up, if you're interested.
Do you have any final thoughts? I guess that was your final thoughts.
That was my final thought. How about yours, Max?
Yeah, I mean, I think that tonight was really inspiring for me because I was impressed by the energy, the enthusiasm, the community, the experiences, and, quite frankly, just preparing to walk through everything that's included and everything that you get and everything that happens in the program. It is pretty incredible what we've all built together. It's so rich and so deep, and there's so many facets to it, and there's so many different opportunities to it. I certainly know that there's still things to develop, and there's still work to be done, and there's still improvements to be made. And, there's lots still to do. We're only in season 3, as Patrick said. But it's really true. If you look at the world of education, and then you look at the cannabis world, first off, I think there's nothing in the world like this outside of cannabis. And then there's definitely nothing in the world like this inside of cannabis. And that makes it so special and so unique. So we all just hope that this has resonated with you and that you join us for this next class. It's definitely a cannabis journey of a lifetime.
All right, everybody, enjoy the balance of your evening, and we look forward to seeing you here up in Southern Humboldt on the Ganjier campus later this year. Take care and have a good night, all.
Fun.
Bye, Amanda. Good
You.
seeing you.
Bye, Patrick.
Bye.
Take care, you crazy kids.
Good night.